Hello, welcome to okBoomer's final project presentation. This is Team New Age Social Media. Charmaine Beluso is the project lead, along with Kate Kleinschmidt, Jason Stein, and Jack Hannon.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is what is okBoomer. So okBoomer provides a solution to navigating social media that allows for the simplest user experience online. This project involves making a Twitter-like website that supports basic Twitter functionalities such as posting and reacting to a post. Through this project, we will get hands-on experience in software development, specifically in web applications. And talk about the requirements a little bit. So the first user story number one is, as a boomer or user, I want to post a boom so that I can write or share something on my page so that the rest of my boomers/followers can see. So that led to core feature number one, which was post a boom. User story number two, as a boomer, which is also a user, I want to react or like somebody's post, which leads to core feature number two, which is react to a boom. User story number three, as a user, I want to be able to follow another boomer so that I can see their booms and grow my follower list, which leads to core feature number three, follow a boomer. The main requirements for this were we needed to work in teams, we needed to follow coding style of React and Django code conventions, which were JavaScript and Python, basically. We needed to follow the sprint schedule / agile development. We needed to test what we did, and then we needed to document everything that we did.
Okay, so for the design of this project, we started with some initial sketches. On the first slide, you see that we had our initial front end, which contained the login page for okBoomer. You see the stranger's view and how they would register or log in. And then once they're able to get into the website, the initial profile page is what will show up. And we see that in the top left-hand corner. The bottom left-hand corner, we had viewing another profile, which was quite similar to our user profile. We don't want to make it more difficult for our users to navigate. And then we had the Boomer board, which is just basically posts from people that you follow, boomers that you follow, and other users. So for the second design portion, we had class diagrams. We have on the right side, we have how our users interact with the booms and the feed. So under the user, we have name, username, email address, password, and a profile picture. And then we have the functionality, posting a tweet, reacting to a boom, and following another user. We went over this in the requirements phase, but these were our user stories. In a tweet or boom, you have the text, reactions, and you can set reactions. These will just be posts and not exactly displays, but on the feed is where we see the displays. We see the text. We're given context, and we're able to refresh the page in order to see more posts. Profile page included our user information, our options, so if we want to change anything, and we're still able to get text in and context from our feed, and then we're able to refresh the page. And that extends down to our own user page and other user pages. The third part of our design, we had the sequence diagram for posting a boom. So a user, a boomer, would have to create an account, go through user registration, go save the info. So if they haven't made an account yet, they have to make the account, but they don't have to go through the login page. They go straight into the database. And then once they create their profile page, they're able to get on to our main functionality, which is posting a boom and then etc. If the user already has an account, we just enter the account info. We're going straight to the login page. And then we check the info with the database so that we can confirm they're given the correct credentials. And then we're able to go to the profile page if they're able to log in. Once they log in, they have the same functionality. And if they want to create a post, they go straight to posting. Now, reacting is requiring you to be logged in, which makes sense. But you can also, decide you want to show the post, you want to see all the posts that you want to react to, um, and then click on a specific post, and then you'll show the button for reacting. And then we have the third part, which is clicking. Actually, yeah, the user needs to click the reaction, and then it will add to the database, and it will update so that the user knows that they have successfully reacted to a post. Now, the last part of our design was the sequence diagram for following a user. So Boomer 1 searches for Boomer 2, finds Boomer 2 by calling the database. And if that Boomer is in the database, then they're able to see the Boomer's profile. They'll click on the profile and they'll be able to follow them. If they've already followed them, then that will show up in the database. But if they haven't, then we will update that it is following that Boomer 1 is following Boomer 2 in the database. It will also send a notification to Boomer 2 so that they know they have a new follower, which brings everybody joy. For implementation, we our front end was made in HTML, CSS, and React.js. We're using React because it's the most popular. So since a lot of big companies use it, it is a useful tool to learn for future projects, and it also has reusable components. For the backend, this was a struggle, but we finally got our heads around Django, which is a Python-based web framework, and it has built-in functionality to create you a database just off of deploying Django from the get-go. The reason why we picked Django also is because we're most comfortable with Python. It's the simplest for the functionality that we were looking for. And it accesses an SQL database, also the simplest. So now we're going to have a demo from Charmaine.
Yes, so for our demo, I'm going to show our front end and like what it's supposed and what it does and the files and how it works. So I'm going to run our website right now. So this is what our interface looks like. This is the user's profile. You can see their profile, a little insight into that, and their information over on the top left corner. Underneath it are extra little tidbits about more information about the user. This is this shows a friend request. It looks like Jane Doe is asking for a friend request. And then over here, it looks like John Doe, another user, wrote on your wall. And what you can do is you can like his post. You can also unlike his post. And that's one of the core features, is to react to a boom. And over here, this is just a call to boom because our website is called okBoomer. And so we have booms, which is a post, and then boomers, which are the users. You can also write on your wall saying, I created a boom, and then post that boom. And it's on your wall already. So you can also like your post and unlike it. And you can only like it once because you're only one user. And so how all of this works is that here you have your app.js file, and it holds all your components. And this is how React works. It takes in components from different files and then imports them into one file. And using HTML structure, you can, and inline CSS styling, you can style your website and put all your components together, and so that it looks, pretty on the front end. And index.html is where it actually runs the website. So in the app.js file, you can see all these components, and they're all under the source folder and then the components folder. And let's see, like this shows the biography, and inside the React file, it's that you render your component and then you return HTML elements with inline CSS styling. And so you can just write, my profile and then style it. And so like designer.ui, you can see is over here. And then it takes in these images from the W3 template website. And so that's where all the styling icons came from. And then you have the friend request component. This is this part. And then same thing, you render it. Your interest, which is this little component, and it just lists different components using an accordion style. Then one of the main features, which is the like button. So the like button is a reusable component, so that if you need a like button for other posts, or let's say other posts, you can, it takes in the amount of likes, which is like the initial one is 0. And then if you want to add a like, you just add it to this dot state, and then it updates a new count. And then you can remove a like, and that decreases the amount of likes whenever you press the button again, because you can only like a button once, or like a post once. So this takes into account the amount of likes you have. And so if you have 0 count or 0 likes initially, it only shows the like button with the thumbs up graphic. So there's no count to it. And then over here, if you have 1 like, you can remove a like. So let's say you already have 1 like. Pressing it again will remove the like. If you go up to 1 like, it shows 1. So that's how the like button works. And so again, there's a more info component, which just shows more info, and then the nav bar, which is at the top. And then this is how a new post is created. So you construct a prop, which is inside React. And then so you add your item, which is the post. And then you render it inside your profile. So over here, you take in post items, which I'll talk about later, and you take in your entries, and then you post it. Let's say this is your new entry, so you post it, and then there you go. So there's also the posted page, which is this part. Someone already posted on your page. And there's a like button component. And then there's the post items page, where you create a boom, you take your item, which is the entry that someone wrote in the input, and then you create the boom using the input, and it styles it into a new post using CSS and HTML and React. So that's basically how the whole interface is created. And then for the structure of our whole file structure, we used a create React sample app component file that we downloaded from react.js. And so it has the front end, the public, which is the index.html, which is one of the most important files in that folder, and then the source file, which holds your components, and then the app.js, and then our test files, and then our package.json, and then the create React app documentation. Then there's also the backend using the structure taken from Django. It also has our test file, and then all our other backend implementations. And then for our testing, we have Travis. So that's basically it for our demo for our website.
All right, so the roles for our group, Charmaine was the project lead, and she was in the front end part with Kate. She did the user interface design and implementation, and she worked on the documentation. Kate worked on login and registration, and with our database, she's very helpful. She was able to provide us a database from the get-go, so that was really awesome. Um, and she also worked on the documentation. Myself and Jack, we were working on the Django Python backend, and we were able to deploy a successful backend. Those are the roles for our group.
And lastly, for some mistakes we made and lessons we learned from those mistakes, there were a ton of errors, but we boiled them down to two major ones that are sort of connected to each other. But first, one error we made was in our integration between the back end and the front end was a bit of a mess, to say the least. The two halves, getting them to match was a struggle, which is partly related to our second error, which was a lot of time spent up on this distracting example that we found deployed using a different continuous integration service than the one we ended up using, and then they weren't compatible, and it was essentially a lot of time taken on essentially a wild goose chase. So that was one of the errors we made. And as for lessons that we learned, well, first, a lesson that probably every group during this lab has learned this semester is that it's tough to work on a project like this when there's no way to feasibly meet in person, at least not regularly. So we had to really work at it from several different angles, and those angles were hundreds of miles away. So it's also difficult to get this much time compressed, get this much work compressed in a short amount of time as sprints require. A general lesson was just the sheer scale of web development. Even this small project was a lot of effort between the four of us. We also learned that it's a requirement almost to get project specs as descriptive as you possibly can early on, so that the end goals of the project are clear and in agreement by everyone working on it. And related to that is the lesson of picking reasonable early goals so that you don't try and bite off more than you can chew right off the bat.
Well, all right. Thank you very much. This is New Age Social Media's final presentation on okBoomer.